Hello and welcome to India Post Live, India's first online live news interactive conversation web portal. I am Ms. Yagmabhutia. Well, they say marriages are made in heaven. For a girl, to marry the man of her dream is the ultimate dream come true. Marriages in India are often accompanied with traditions, rituals and often superstitious belief. But this particular marriage, which took place in India's Jharkhand state, takes the belief of superstitious a little too far. Let's take a look. Okay, so the girl, an 18-year-old girl by the name Mangli Mundi, she was forced to marry a stray dog apparently to ward off evil. Well, the wedding was organized by village elders after a local priest convinced the girl's parents that she possessed bad luck and that marrying a man would bring devastation to her village. Well, the story has been trending on the internet quite a lot with people reacting to the stories. Well, to take the conversation forward, I am joined on Google Hangout by Shehzad Poonawalla. Shehzad is a member of Congress and an activist. Shehzad has been very active about this particular incident on the social media. I am also joined online by Shahid Ahmed. She is a research scholar with JNU and also an activist. Okay, first let me speak to Shehzad.
Yes.
Shehzad, welcome back to India Post Live.
Pleasure always to be here.
Yeah. So Shehzad, tell us, what was your first reaction, when you come to know about this particular marriage incident?
Actually, one has been vocal on the issues of women's rights and women's exploitation, not just by one sect or one community of people, but by all. And when I got to see this news report, there were a lot of people who were questioning. You see, every religion has, I think, subjugated women in its doctrine. At a doctrinal level, if you see every religion, whether it's Christianity and the treatment of Mary Magdalene, whether it's Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma actually, whether it's Islam, every religion subjugates women to some extent. The problem is that the managers of religion are even worse because they misinterpret a lot of the provisions of our religion and even go further beyond subjugating women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were a few people on media, especially, and I'll take their names, like Shiv Arur, Gaurav Sawant, they're leading journalists. Often they write about, say, a Muslim man or a Muslim cleric ill-treating a woman, which is fine, we all condemn it, but they would never speak about these kinds of things which happen in their own, in the fold of other religions.
Mm-hmm.
So I posed a query that why don't you, if you are active on the issue of women's rights, like I am, and I condemn maybe somebody raping their daughter-in-law and then being said that they would marry them, I condemn that, so you should condemn this as well. I think this is an assault on the women's autonomy to make her free choice as to whom she should marry. There is societal pressure because of which they have to go through this, and this is not just the poor, this is not just the illiterate, this is the educated Amitabh Bachchans of the world who get Aishwarya Rai to marry to trees, and even people I know get their daughters and daughters-in-laws because they're Manglik married to some tree, rock. It is as condemnable as the things that happen on other side where you ask women to go in a burqa. It's as backward as telling women not to work. It's as backward as all these things are.
But Shehzad, we are talking about an India which is like so cut off from the rest of the world. Out here we're talking about the people's reaction on the internet. I know that I was reading up a lot of comments on this particular incident. They were saying that it's an insult to the girl. But here we are talking about a place which is cut off from the rest of the world. The society thrives on these superstitious beliefs. But what do you have to say about that?
See, I understand that a lot of local customs are there, especially in those areas of tribal areas where they want to have their local customs. But you see, there are some things which are just wrong. Sati was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Dowry is wrong. So
but it's still prevalent.
It is prevalent, but we've taken a conscious decision to fight it. Now, this is not an assault on somebody's local customs. You see, there's a balance, women's rights versus a local custom. Yes, you can keep your local customs as long as they don't interfere with somebody's human rights. This is interference with the human rights of 50% of our population. You can't make. Why doesn't the man marry a dog?
Yeah,
Would
that,
the man also marry a
I was
dog?
just coming to that. Why can't a man? Why is it
Yeah.
just girls? Why can't a man, marry a cat or a donkey for that matter?
No man is Manglik. Every man is like a superstar, but the woman is Manglik. This is what I oppose.
Okay, so the story has got quite a lot of attention on the internet. Let's take a look at some of the tweets that's been doing round on the internet. Okay, Suzanne says, sheer insult of this lady makes no sense at all. Marrying a dog, what century are we in? Nidhi Dayal says, it's sad, depressing and regressive. 21st century, really? Okay, Sumaya writes, what nonsense, girl marrying dog to remove bad omen? My lord. Okay, Manav writes, the great culture where homosexuality is unnatural, but girl marrying a dog is fine. I think I second that. Okay, Rudraksh writes, so this is all right, but LGBT unions aren't. Good going, India. Aja writes, many people have asked for a hand in marriage, but what about a paw? Just read a news about a girl marrying a dog. LOL. Insafin writes, oh God, what a religion it is. They are marrying girl with a dog to get rid of evil spirits. Sharam karo kuch yaar. Okay. Dev Kanchan writes, marrying your best friend is always a bad idea, especially since it's both illegal and immoral to marry your dog. So Wellington writes, if you love your dog and you know your dog loves you, what's the problem in marrying it in accordance to your views? LOL. Nidhi Dayal again, same, sad, depressing and regressive. Yeah, so that's it. Okay, can I have Shaheen? Hi Shaheen, welcome to India Post Live.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so same question to you, Shaheen. What was your first reaction when you got to know about this particular news report?
You know, I was not actually shocked because this is not the first instance and I'm very sure this is not going to be the last.
Yeah.
And Shahzad rightly pointed out, it's like people like Amitabh Bachchan who we take up as idols of the society and who in fact, and it was widely publicized about what happened to Aishwarya Rai, right? I mean, because she was belonged to a certain kind of a category and she was had to marry a tree and I mean, news like this propagates. And the fact is that patriarchy or hierarchy is so deeply entrenched. And let me say, make it clear that just because we are in India, we cannot say that like, the rest of the world is less patriarchal. There are different levels, but here, of course, the idea of superstition is so deeply entrenched because like local views, customs, in every field that you see, it's always a kind of a hierarchy, a kind of subjugation that a woman has to face, whether it's a religion or that religion, in every kind of a thing. Like, forget about even about like a girl marrying dog. What about a woman menstruating who's not allowed to go inside a place of religious worship? I mean, why? What is this idea of impurity that has, or purity that has come to be associated with what a woman is? And that is the basic idea about why we have so much gender violence in this country. One of the most fundamental ideas about what makes a woman pure, what makes a woman ideal, for which like a woman who does not adhere to the conventional norm is often subjected to gender violence. I mean, in a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah. So, tell us, Shaheen, tell us about your, your memory of these, when you were growing up. You must have heard about these weird weddings. Tell us about your experience of, weird weddings, if you have heard or come across one.
Well, I did hear of when I was growing up. I'm from Guwahati, Assam. And when I was growing up, there was this weird ritual I heard among my friends that when a girl attaches puberty, I don't know if it's valid in the other parts of the country or if it's like practiced even everywhere in Assam, but some of the girls in my school did that. When she reached puberty, the family married her off to a banana tree as a symbol. And that was something that I could never understand at the time. What is this kind of marriage that happens to a to a banana tree when you're attaining your puberty. I mean, like, it was superstition. It was in a way like so regressive for a lady, for a woman. I mean, you're already, that means you're meant to be a wife. I mean, that's how you're viewed when you reach puberty. I mean, men definitely are not viewed that way, right? So
Yes.
this was one incident that I heard, and it's been like not just one incident. I mean, I've heard so many of it, but that was my experience with such kind of wedding.
Okay,
Yeah.
on that, I'll just get back to Shehzad. Yeah, Shehzad, you've been wanting to make a point. Please go ahead.
I think what is also what we must guard against is the institutionalization of women's subjugation, which is now taking place not just in the social religious discourse, but even in the political discourse. You see, Mr. Modi, who's the current prime minister, once made a speech about how women can be good mothers, daughters, and that how the father should plant some trees so that when she gets married, we can give dowry from those trees and cut the wood, and all these kinds of patriarchal religio-propagated ideas, whether it's the Islamic religion which has been manipulated to kind of subjugate women, or the Christian religion, or the Hindu religion. I think that now it's time for women to take up these issues and come in the front and say this is not okay. And you know, especially when idols like Amitabh Bachchan and these kinds of people, they take these regressive ideas forward. I think it's very shocking. And I would say to this extent that this is a conspiracy that women who are extremely talented, in fact more talented than men, should not be given their position either in the social religious space or in the political space, and they should be denied by saying they're impure, or they are, they can't touch achar, they can't do this, they can't marry a tree, or bad luck. These things are a conspiracy against 50% of the world's population, 50% of India's population. I think we should unite against this kind of oppression of the minority women.
Yeah, I also want to add something to it right now.
Shaheen, please go ahead.
Shehzad mentioned earlier that, like, it happens in tribal society. But let me tell you that such kind of regression, this kind of marriage that I was talking to you about, happened in a very mainstream urban society. That marrying off a banana tree as a symbolic gesture that you're now a woman ready to. What is marriage in that way? Like, you're able to carry your reproductive processes. I mean, that is the idea that, like, you are now ready to bear a child. This entire idea of looking at women as this child-bearing machines is what is, like, one of the most fundamental ways in which a woman has been, like, rendered agencyless in a way. I mean, you reach a certain age and, like, marriage questions. And I want to put this now, when we're talking of weird marriages, let me put this question out to all the married, educated ladies and the men out there. Why do you take your husband's surname after marriage?
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
why? I mean, is that not in one way you're rendering your own agency like completely redundant?
Yeah.
I mean, where is it written that if you do not take your husband's surname, you become less of a married woman? So, I mean, this is one point that I've been constantly raising. And
okay, let me get back to Shehzad on that. Shehzad, what Shaheen raised a very valid, good point. I mean, even I don't agree with that. Why do we girls have to take our husband's surname title after marriage? I mean, even I don't agree with that. Your take on that? Would you like your wife to take your surname?
If I do get married, I would not insist on her taking my name, and I would definitely consider if she has a good name, why not I take her name. But on a serious note, I do know of a very prominent newspaper owner who took his wife's surname. I must tell you that. And secondly, just on a lighter note, since we are on this issue of the girl marrying a dog, well, all men are dogs, so I guess she's gotten off with a better trade. But on a serious note, yes, we should, women should not be required to take a man's name. Women should have, I know of women who have to change their first name after marriage. In Muslims, in Sindhis, everywhere. I think this is regressive. A woman should have her own identity, her own autonomy, and stop being this. We should stop being this patriarchal society across the world, and let's all unite with the women of the world and allow them to keep their names and allow them to be what they want to be. Who are meant to dictate to them? We don't own them. They own themselves.
So, Shehzad, you've been very active, as far as this case is concerned, this girl marrying a dog. But there has also been a lot of cases across India wherein a girl is forced to marry, say, a frog, a donkey, right? A fruit. In some cases, I've heard girls getting married to a fruit, because the belief is again the same, that whatever evil that was supposed to otherwise happen to the future husband would be passed on to the fruit. you know. So do you think those also in a way are like, in ways, it's like, subjugating women, again, an insult? Why only dog?
No. I think across the board, it's despicable. I mean, I'm feeling like laughing, but I can only imagine the plight of the woman. I mean, this is to marry inanimate objects, or to marry a species which is not even yours. I mean, I don't know which sense of justice can even justify this. But I must tell you that some of the women on my Twitter account came and said, "Oh, but it's okay." So when I asked them that, would you do it? They said, no, we will not do it. But for those women, it's okay because it's out of their own convictions they want to do it. See, this kind of double standard should not be there amongst women. All women should stand up for the rights of all such other women. They must, like Shaheen is saying here.
Okay, if they say that if I want to marry a dog, they must marry the dog. They must not be double standards.
Exactly. You marry it as well, rather than saying, oh, she's doing it out of a free will.
So do you know of any other weird, since we're talking about weird marriages and tradition, do you know of, are you aware of any such other, weird marriage, such marriages that happens across the world?
The weirdest marriage for me is an intelligent woman marrying an idiot of a man. That's the weirdest for me. I mean, I think women are much better off by themselves rather than get married to these idiots called men. So that's the weirdest for me, I guess. I know I'll be upsetting a lot of people, but the dog one shocked me a lot. And the fruit one takes the cake, if I can say so.
Okay, okay, Shaheen, please go ahead.
Also, I feel, if I may just add one point to it, I also feel that when Shehzad shared his Twitter experience with us right now, I feel that there is a big disconnect between the urban and the ones who at least think that they are urban women, and the ones they think that they are not urban women, but they come from small time, tier 2 towns or even remote areas. And that's why because of this perception that, okay, we are educated, we are empowered, we come from a certain privilege, so we will not marry a dog. But if they are okay with it, then let's go ahead with it. I mean, this sense of urban and non-urban kind of a state, which people feel, which a lot of women feel makes them empowered, is completely wrong. I mean, whether you're living in an urban society, whether you're not in an urban society, the levels of subjugation is always there. It's just that today we are talking about it because this case came forward, like a girl marrying a dog, getting married to a dog forcibly. But as I said earlier, there's just so many cases.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk about, there is also another custom which happens in southern India, wherein the girls are dedicated to temples, to a particular temple in the name of gods and goddesses. So the girl is forced to marry a particular god, okay, and they are known as Devdasis. So what happens is that these Devdasis, they are supposed to live the life of celibacy. The practice is attributed to religious cult, and any child born to such Devdasis are traditionally bound to such the practice of Devdasi. And from what I heard is, the Devdasis, they are also exploited a lot, since we are talking about women's subjugations. Yeah, so I think, this is not something that new. It has been there.
I mean, I come from Guwahati. We have the Kamakhya temple there, the seat of Tantra in India, right? So Kamakhya has also had this tradition of Devdasis, and I'm quite well aware of this tradition. But you know what? I'd like to also take this platform to point out about the subtle ways in such how such patriarchy operates, because I do know a friend of mine who is a Kannada from Bangalore. He was once sharing an experience with me that what happens in their marriages. He is from Bangalore, he's from a very upper caste family, let me say. And in their marriages, apparently what happens is that the father of the bride has at one kind of this thing, ritual is there, that the father of the bride has to go to the groom and wash his feet and then request him, please do not leave. My daughter will be my daughter will be laid redundant. My daughter will have nothing to do in life. She'll be lost. She'll be helpless if you leave. So he has to go and request, and then the groom will be okay, let me think, and then again request, and then the groom will come back to the house, and then the marriage thing will start. Now you tell me, how different is this from such radical examples? I mean, these are levels in which, like, such patriarchy is operating, right? In even like in such well-sanctioned marriage rituals. So
Yeah,
it's just like we need to reflect, we need to introspect on like every kind of a process, and not just take one extremely radical example and say that, like, this is just what's making us think. That's why I'm always bothered when I see women like so educated, so doing well in life, take up their husband's surnames.
yeah. Shaheen, I'm not surprised to, when you told about this incident, I'm not surprised, because even I've heard incidences like that. Like I also come from Northeast, and even I've heard cases wherein, like the way you said, the girl's father has to, wash the guy's feet, and they have to, the father is made to drink that water. So that, and he pleads to the groom that, keep my daughter happy, do not leave her, and blah blah, all that stuff. And I think this is, I don't know what to say. I mean, this is such a sad, it's very sad to know that it happens in modern India. Shehzad, your take on that?
No, I see, for the sake of some balance, let me also say that, let us not just focus on the some of the wrong manipulated customs of Hindus. See, I don't think Sanatan Dharma, I'm not an expert on Sanatan Dharma, but I don't know if this is the teachings or doctrines of Sanatan Dharma. This is the local customs manipulated by people practicing the religion for their own benefit to subjugate women. Similarly, now there was a case of a Muslim father-in-law raping the daughter-in-law, and then a cleric saying that the daughter-in-law has become his wife. Now let me clarify, Islam, rape is completely forbidden, so therefore that act can never be justified, and they can't be made into husband and wife by any cleric. So it's illegal, it's un-Islamic. But now still that fatwa has been given that, oh, she's his wife. So therefore, you see, in every religion, now in Christianity, you must have heard of the word witch hunt. Witch hunt came about because there were a certain section of people who, in the name of the Christians, and one verse out of the Bible, out of context, they used that and they hunted women across Europe. So you see, every religion has its bunch of lunatics. Primarily, they take out something from a religion which is an out of context, manipulate it for keeping their power of subjugation over women, and they propagate this. So it is necessary even for the real practitioners of religion to come out and say strongly that this is not what the dharma is about. And it's also necessary for the people of political value to come out and say that this will not be tolerated in our current socio-political discourse. I think everyone now needs to unite, and women should take the lead and should set this agenda straight, because women should not be subjugated by this over and over and over of years of dogmatic practices.
Okay, thank you, Shehzad. Thank you so much. Okay, Shaheen,
thank you so much.
Just a rejoinder to that is that, see, when I'm talking about certain things, it's not just about criticizing one particular religion. I mean, let me make it very clear, because marriage in itself is so problematic towards a woman. I mean, whatever religion or whatever core belief one might come from, because at the end of the day, a woman, the kind of repression that she is subjected to, it's unbelievable. Even in today's contemporary age, when we are living in a postmodern world, right? So, and if I have to, like, be on a very level playing field, yes, of course, Islam also. I mean, you hear so many like instances of really old men marrying like young girls. Young as in like some 20, 30 years of a difference, right? So that cannot be sanctioned. And again, mind you, that is not again happening in some remote village. It's happening again in northern society. It's again happening in contemporary societies, which I've seen like enough examples of. So what I was trying to bring into point was that let's not just take one example of like, this extremely radical example and just say that like, oh, that is wrong. But what we need to do is look into the kind of practices, the everyday practices that we are aware of or we ourselves perpetuate in the name of marriage, whatever social belief or religious belief that we come from, and start with that criticism, and this kind of an urban kind of a sense that we have that this can never happen to us is what we first need to like banish from our heads. I mean, that's my understanding, because we all are subject to that repression.
Okay, thank you, Shaheen and Shehzad, for coming to India Post Live and talking to us on this particular. Yeah, thank you so much. Before I go, let's take a look at some of the weird marriages that happens across the world. Okay, so in 1992, Mark Matthews married. Okay, so Mark Matthew, Jerry Springer tried to unravel the mystery of this relationship on his talk show in 1998. However, he failed because talking about zoophilia seemed too outrageous for some TV directors. Therefore, the show was never broadcast. Can we have the next, please? Okay, so a millionaire woman married a dolphin. That was in 2005. Sharon Tendler married Cindy 15 years earlier when she first visited the resort. Tendler took a liking to the dolphin and made a habit of traveling to Israel 2 or 3 times a year and spending time with her underwater sweetheart. 2-year-old tribal Indian girls who married 2 frogs. Okay, this was what I was talking about some time back. So which happened in January 2009, 2 7-year-old Vigneshwari and Maisi Khan girls from the remote Paliput village in India who married 2 frogs. The ceremony was conducted to prevent the outbreak of mysterious diseases in the village. Okay, a man from Sudan married a goat, Charles Toom, a Sudanese man, was forced to take a goat as his wife and paid to the goat owner a dowry of 15,000 Sudanese dinars, which is $75 US dollar, after he was caught having sex with the animal. Fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld, who wants to marry his cat. Oh, in June 2013, the fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld announced that he wished to marry his cat Choupette. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Okay, the 77-year-old fashion guru said that he never thought it was impossible to love 22-month-old Choupette as much as he does. Okay. Okay, well, that's it on weird marriages from India Post Live. Well, what do you think of the weird marriages? Send us your tweets to @IndiaPostLive or #IndiaPostLive. You can also go to our Facebook page and leave your comments there. Thank you for watching the show.